You know what would make the great game of Stellaris an even better game? Real people. Imagine that you were not politicking and scheming against just artificial intelligence that is predictable, that is soulless and emotionless, just rational. And instead, you were playing against the real people who are experienced with the game of various degrees, of course, in order to succeed within this tenuous galaxy where there was no limit for diplomacy, scheming, backstabbing, and vastly different strategies. And that is why we bring you the Eternum campaign from the Arx Holdings United perspective. In this campaign, we have 26 human players with no AI empires, at least at the start, as players have to, take breaks and everything. Their empires will be managed by AI, but on overall, they all will be managed by other human players. So this is perhaps the one of the first major PvP games. I do not know if they have existed before. They probably were, but this is the first one with the 2.2 update as a megacorp. And so, in this one, we're going to be summarizing the first 25 years, the 3-hour session of the Eternum campaign. So, within the first 25 years, we have established a few rules, which is there will be no alliances, no wars or anything without the proper documentation. If you want to declare a war, you need to have the proper causes of war. Otherwise, well, your war is kind of illegal and it will not be accepted. So there is a bit of a regulation, so to speak, by the game masters. As such, that's how everything is sort of regulated, so to speak. And so we have different megacorps, different types of civilizations, even xenophobic ones. I mean, obviously we're gonna have those. But, so, that is how we achieve the diversity within this galaxy, resulting in very interesting stories. And even outside the game, so much scheming, secret alliances, and even a galactic summit where we discuss the topics of the galaxy. So, we begin with all the players trying to establish their foothold in the galaxy. They're trying to expand their territories into the best systems that they've got, depending on their strategy. As Arx Holding United, I'm going to be using a updated version of the Toll Overlord strategy, which relies heavily on leaders and playing toll as well as subjects to expand its power. Now that the subjects have been changed and no direct subjects are allowed within this campaign, we're going to be playing it a little bit differently. My ethics choice was Fanatic Militarist and Spiritualist. While my race is intelligent, and some of my first ascendancy and the tradition tree is discovery. That is to increase my research speed earlier on as an infrastructure work towards future. You see, as you might have noticed in the Toll Overlord, everything is about the future. Everything is to ramp your power up. With the 2.2 update, you have to update your economy and make things more robust, so to speak. And as we're probably going to release before this one, a guide on the 2.2 as a megacorp. Megacorp is more enhanced version of the Toll Empire, which fits perfectly with the Toll Overlord, especially the new Toll Overlord. As the new Toll Overlord, we're going to be focusing on how should I say, a balance of, well, we're focusing on our advantages, basically, which is the research and tradition, because we are going to be avoiding the high costs of exceeding the administrative cap. We are going to be closing the difference by quickly reforming our economy, capturing the nearby areas to reach our administrative cap and have our economy grow to a sizable area. As such, at the start of the game, it is pretty difficult to tell who is following what kind of strategy, but that is the situation. And so when we look at our starting position, we will see that I've started at the northernmost area, which gives me a diplomatic option of going to either voice chats on the both quadrants. The galaxy is split because we've got 26 players The galaxy is split into 4 quadrants: northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest. Because I'm right in the middle, I can play with both northeast and northwest. And I communicate with both of them, trying to get an idea what kind of players they are. And from there, I formed my initial opinions of them, even before discovering where they were. And that is how we formed our first political moves, a bit of banter here and there, trying to understand who people are, but mostly quietly listening. So from my starting position, I see I'm right in the middle of a nebula, which is something I'm going to be taking advantage of by building a nebula refinery. Nebula refinery is arguably positive building. I mean, if you don't have anything else to build, it is good, because it creates 5 minerals and costs 3 energy to maintain. It's pretty okay, I would say. I believe it is increased. I believe it's 5.5 now, and I believe it can be increased. But regardless, it is not that much, because minerals are very abundant in this game. As such, they oftentimes end up being sold. Transferring them into consumer goods and alloys is the chief problem when it comes to these resources. And that is what we'll be trying to do in middle and late game. But earlier on, we will need those minerals to build the space stations to gain us other resources. So here we expand towards the eastern quadrant because we discovered that they've got some good resources. And then we're going to be expanding towards the south and west. Since we're at the northern edge, we can't go north. This creates a great strategic opportunity, which is, in the case of war, I will be very well defended, and I cannot be attacked from at least my northern side. So I know any kind of attack is going to come from east and the west, assuming an attack is even going to take place. With the difficulties of declaring war and the viability of playing pacifist, it becomes quite viable. In the later years, as we discover one another, we go through a few events. I get the cultists event. As you can see, I'm getting the discovery treaty. The cultist event forces me to have a standing army and sending my armies to hunt down those cultists, eventually taking down their flagship and rewarding me with a few resources, as well as the game's first battleship, which is nice. I hope to eventually discover the that pet amoeba event, which gives you an ever-growing pet amoeba, which becomes as strong as a dreadnought, basically. So I hope to get that. This is quite fun. And somebody also got the awesome event of brain slugs. So that made me a little jealous. But, what can we do? It's a thing that kind of balances itself out. Everybody gets at least a bit of their own unique bonuses. While it is not guaranteed, you still have to make the best of what you got, and this is what this game is all about. And so as we spread around, we encounter our first neighbors to the south, the United Foundries Alliance, who have, even from the first contact, said, hey guys, we're not going to expand in that direction anymore, you guys can go ahead, which set up a very friendly relations. They are a bit more pacifist. As such, this serves quite well. You want your first players to be your allies before you know who to attack, because wars are very, very dangerous. They can be extremely expensive. They can be very detrimental. So you have to follow the art of war. And in this case, the most important principle is winning the war before it even begins. You need to have enough forces, enough allies, and enough information to win that war quickly, because no state has benefited from prolonged warfare. And so, even before we declare the war, we discover our other neighbors. We discover the Antherian Empire. We discover the Katsu Kingdom. And towards our west, we discover the Holy Republic. After the first discovery, I warned them verbally not to continue their expansion towards the north and cut it at a specific system. But they choose to ignore that, so I'm kind of bummed out about it. May or may not go to war about it, not sure yet. And towards our east, we encounter another civilization, Rianid Simpo. I don't know how to pronounce that. Rianids. I was just gonna call them Rianids. And so there, I realized they're also a megacorp. They are a criminal megacorp, which is, I mean, it's not bad. For me anyway, because I'm also a megacorp. They can't build any of their offices on my areas, so I'm safe from the crime spree. But regardless, so we talk with them. They prove themselves to be quite reasonable, and so at the end of our session, we reach a conclusion about our eastern borders, and with that, we finish our first campaign, our first session at 22:30, I believe. So we played for about 30 years. The scoreboard is a little interesting. It doesn't show tradition, so it is hard to tell who is really winning. Who was it? The Groot nation, the plant people, have huge advantage on the population, but they are a Gestalt consciousness, so it's hard to tell who is really winning this early on. But even then, you can still see people branching out and finally forming their strategies. And in our next session, we are going to see perhaps our first engagement, our first alliances, our first rivalries. As it stands now, at the end of the session, we had the Antherian Kingdom and Miltech, I believe. No, one other megacorp who had rivaled against us and one of our clients, who is the United Foundries Alliance. At the end of the session, we had decided to form the Northern Alliance, and in between those sessions, right at the summit, we had declared our alliance, which has caused a lot of stir for obvious reasons. You've got an alliance with 4 members, one of whom, myself, they have never played with before, so they do not know what to expect, but now they will know. And in our next session, we will see what happens. I hope you enjoyed this, and please let us know what would you like to see in these videos, and we will see you next time.